A while ago, I made a video about this man right here, Denver Broncos quarterback Craig Morton, and something bizarre that happened during that 1977 season when Morton led Denver to the Super Bowl for the first time in franchise history. And when Morton played at a career-best level and was awfully close to winning MVP of the entire NFL. You can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. Because during that 1977 season, after a game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, Morton immediately bolted out of the stadium and attended a rehearsal dinner for his own wedding. Seriously. He had his wedding scheduled for the middle of football season, and had to bolt out of Denver on Sunday night after the game was done in order to make it on time. Seems like some really poor and bizarre planning on his end, but as bizarre as that situation was, at least Morton missed 0 seconds of actual game time. Say what you want about Morton's planning abilities and how bad they were, but he played in that game on November 6th against the Pittsburgh Steelers, a 21-7 win. He played the entirety of the contest and then left, not really missing anything of note in the process. It's not as if he literally got married on that Sunday and had to miss the game. It's not as if he didn't suit up for his team because he was in the process of participating in holy matrimony with his wife. Well, I bring that up because this man right here is quarterback Ed Baker. If you know of Ed Baker today, you probably know him best for one of the worst performances in NFL history, when he appeared in one regular season game in his career, a 1972 game for the Houston Oilers against the Cincinnati Bengals in the final week of the season, and proceeded to throw no touchdowns and 4 interceptions on just 10 pass attempts, posting a passer rating of 15.4, which is worse if he did nothing but spike the ball into the ground on every single play, as the Oilers lost the game 61-17 in what was one of the worst seasons by any team in NFL history. You can learn more about that game by clicking the card in the upper right corner. Because when you complete as many passes in your NFL career to the other team as your own team, including not 1, not 2, but 3 pick sixes, that is really bad. Ed Baker was not a good quarterback, as you'll see with the highlights or lowlights throughout this video. However, he was also involved in one of the most bizarre controversies as a member of this team right here, the New York Giants, in 1970, that you probably don't know about, that more than half a century later deserves a deep dive today. Because what if I said that he missed a game to get married? Seriously. What if I said that an NFL quarterback didn't think about the NFL schedule whatsoever and scheduled his wedding in the middle of the season and didn't end up rescheduling the wedding? Because this is the story behind Ed Baker and one of the strangest moments in New York Giants history. Make sure you hit that like button down below, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we post on the channel, because we post every single day on here about the weird and the wacky history of the NFL with stories like this one that you probably don't know about. So if you like that sort of stuff, then this is definitely the place for you. Thanks in advance for liking and subscribing and for helping us grow this community. And with that in mind, let's talk about the time that Ed Baker couldn't be like Ray Parker Jr. and be in 2 places at the same time. Before I talk about the actual incident in question, we need some context to understand who this man right here, Ed Baker, was, and what he was originally supposed to be up to. Baker went to school at Lafayette, where he not only majored in biology, but where he played quarterback for the Leopards and was quite good at it, even getting inducted into his school's Athletics Hall of Fame in 1997. Over his 3 seasons as Lafayette's quarterback, he threw for 2,921 career yards, which was a school record at the time, and he threw for 1,442 yards during the 1969 campaign, giving him the school record at the time for the most passing yards in a single season. His incredible quarterback play helped Lafayette go 7-3 during the 1968 season, giving the Leopards their first winning record since 1960 and giving them the most wins they ever had in a season since they won 7 games in 1948. Bottom line, at least at the collegiate level, Baker could play, as you don't start 3 seasons under center and make your school's Hall of Fame by accident. Which raised the question, if he was so good in college, what was the next step? Well, Baker was more than fine giving up football after college. Playing for the Leopards all those years was fun, but it was time to move on to his real dream, being a dentist. I'm not knocking Baker for this whatsoever. I just find it hysterical how this pretty much follows the plot of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer beat for beat, where Hermie decides that he doesn't want to be like the other elves and instead wants to be a dentist. Ed Baker didn't really want to play quarterback in the NFL and made it very clear to everyone that this was the route he wanted to pursue. For what it's worth, Baker was a very successful dentist, as he practiced for 40 years, retiring in 2014 following a fruitful career in the industry. At the 1970 NFL Draft, there were 14 quarterbacks who got drafted, from Terry Bradshaw with the first pick to Bobby Stewart with the 401st pick. Ed Baker was not one of those 16 quarterbacks, and he was more than content with that. However, just because he wasn't drafted didn't mean that teams didn't have interest in him. The New York Giants were familiar with Baker, having seen some of his games since he played around the Northeast. And Baker, initially, had no intention of signing with the Giants. He gave New York an ultimatum. I'll sign for you guys if and only if you give me an additional $3,500 so I can put that toward dental school. The NFL is just for dental school. I don't want to put this dream of mine on hold, but if you give me money for that, I'll do it. Usually, the player has everything to lose with a contract demand like this. But I guess when you're not viewing the NFL as your career, and you have your sights on other things, and playing in the NFL is just something that you might casually do on the side, there's no pressure whatsoever. Sure enough, the Giants obliged. They gave him the $3,500 that he needed to put toward dental school. And just like that, Ed Baker was signed by the Giants as an undrafted free agent. Said Baker on joining the Giants, "I'm here to find out whether I have it or not. I think I have. I think I can beat out 4th-year man Bob Davis for the number 3 spot. If not, I'll go ahead with my dentistry career. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead with it either way. If I make the Giants, I'll go to dental school in the offseason. In the long run, it's what I hope to be doing anyway. You can't play football forever." I don't think there's been an undrafted player less nervous about making the team in the history of football than Ed Baker was. He was set either way, and had the dental school at the Medical College of Virginia as, I suppose, his fallback plan, which wasn't a bad plan whatsoever. And I guess with this low pressure, Baker looked really sharp in camp. He was making the right throws and the right reads, and was impressing his quarterbacks coach, the legendary Y.A. Tittle, as in the 7-time Pro Bowler who was arguably the greatest quarterback in Giants history and would get inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1971. Baker threw a touchdown pass during a game, throwing a 55-yard strike to Rich Houston, and the Giants tied their exhibition game against the Packers, with Baker playing the majority of the second half. Tittle told Baker that he made the team, and head coach Alex Webster was really impressed with Baker's performance, saying, "He showed great poise for a kid in his first game." Webster added on this that he had a good arm and he's highly intelligent. All of that was really good news for Baker. For a man who wasn't expecting to play ball at the next level, here he was as an undrafted man, impressing the Giants and making the team. That's the good news. The bad news was that because he never had pro football on his sights, he thought that he was going to be free in August, before dental school started. And that was a problem, because before he was signed by the Giants, and well before he learned that he was actually going to make the team, he booked his wedding for August 14th. Baker was set to marry his high school sweetheart, a school teacher named Connie Schneider, on Friday night. This might not be a problem if the Giants weren't playing that week, or if they were playing at home. However, the Giants had an exhibition game against the San Diego Chargers on the road on the opposite side of the country. Quite the conflict, if I do say so myself. I can't exactly blame Baker for this. He never thought any team was going to sign him, especially after demanding an extra $3,500 in cash for dental school, and especially after his repeated comments about how the NFL is just a pit stop and dental school is the end game. But now, Baker had to have the talk with head coach Alex Webster about how he couldn't cancel or reschedule the wedding, and he had to miss the game because he was getting married, because he really had no intention of ever doing this for a living in the first place. And amazingly enough, Alex Webster was completely understanding of the situation. Seriously, Webster understood where he was coming from, and he actually encouraged Baker to do this and to go through with this. Baker played a ton in the second half of that Packer game the week before. And remember that back in 1970, there were a lot of exhibition games, with teams playing 6 preseason games. There were going to be plenty of chances for Baker to play and get some reps in to cement himself on the team. And Baker wasn't even going to factor into the game plan for the Charger exhibition game because of how much he played last week, with Webster wanting to give other guys some looks. There was no point in having Baker cancel his wedding with his high school sweetheart and a wedding that they booked a while ago so that he could just stand idly on the sidelines and do nothing in a game that means nothing. As Baker said, "We made the date before the draft, when I had no intention of playing pro football. Then, when the Giants called me, we decided to let it stand, because I didn't know how long I'd be here." Even when Baker said that he'd get married and then fly out to San Diego immediately after to join the team, Webster insisted that he enjoy the weekend and just report back to the team on Monday. Webster wasn't going to let football get in the way of a little romance. Webster recognized that this was a bizarre and an awkward situation for everyone involved. And I have to commend him for how he handled it, because a lot of coaches definitely would not have reacted the same way and would have cut Baker immediately. I'm just trying to picture someone trying that on Bill Belichick, seeing how well that would work out for him. But just like that, while the rest of the Giants were on the West Coast, Ed Baker and Connie Schneider were getting wed on the East Coast, a couple thousand miles away from everyone else. One of the strangest weddings in NFL history, if I do say so myself. Baker never took a snap in a regular season game with the Giants, and based on these lowlights that you're watching of the only available footage of him with the Giants coming in a Monday Night Football preseason game in 1970 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's not too hard to see why. The college game at Lafayette was very different than the pro game at the NFL level. And true to his word, once he realized that he couldn't do this anymore and wasn't that good, he left the NFL for good and went to dental school. After spending the 1972 season with the Houston Oilers, he demanded $15,000 from the team to come back in 1973, to which general manager Sid Gilman said, "We don't give dental scholarships." And in 1974, when he got an offer to join the Houston Texans of the World Football League, he declined, saying to head coach Jim Garrett, "Jim, I'm in dental school. I'm not coming down here." I think he made the right call on that. I'm not sure he would have gotten his money in the WFL. Baker was a dentist who just casually played in the NFL as a side quest, and this wedding story is a prime example of that. If you have no intention of playing in the NFL, then book an August wedding and go for it, whatever floats your boat. Obviously, if you do have any intention of playing in the league, then it's best to leave August open and just assume that you'll be busy. I mean, you can try to plan an August wedding and get out of being with the team and playing in the preseason, but I don't think it's going to work as well for you as it did for Ed Baker in 1970. I could be wrong, your mileage may vary. That was a very unique and very different set of circumstances. 1 week before the wedding, the Giants tied the Packers, and as the famous expression goes, a tie is like kissing your sister. And this meant that Ed Baker, in the span of one bizarre week in August of 1970, went from kissing his sister metaphorically to kissing the bride literally. Check out our live streaming schedule for the next few days. We're live every single day on this channel, whether we're covering a sporting event or playing GeoGuessr or just taking your requests. So make sure you like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single time that we go live and so that you can join this community. Also, thanks to all our members and our Patreon supporters who get exclusive perks like their name at the end of each video, members-only Q&A streams, and cool emojis to use on videos and during streams. See how you can join this community and become a member or a Patreon member by clicking the link in the description below.